But who's gonna defund me?
Are you ready? No. They're not gonna defund you.
Hold on. I did the flip next. Strider knives.
What are you drinking? A bottle of Pepto Bismol?
Check it out.
What's going on there? Strawberry Quick?
It's Total War. First form.
Cut it in half.
First form. Total War. It's delicious. You want to taste it?
No, I don't want
Put this on your lips.
I don't want any of that Total War. I'm not ready for Total War.
Listen. My testosterone's high.
We haven't fought Total War in a long time. I'm not ready for it.
I haven't drank out of this yet, so this won't make you pregnant. Just take a sippy sip. It's clear.
I know. That's disgusting.
It's the glycerol in it. Tastes good, doesn't it? What flavor would you identify that as?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I would identify that as every...
soda in the fountain?
No, every health nut drink that you've ever gotten in here.
Here?
Yeah, every one of those things in a can that we put in a bottle and stir it up and shake it and drink it. That's what it tastes like.
It tastes like protein powder?
No. You know, like
pre-workout?
Yeah, pre-workout and all that. It tastes like every one of those.
It's probably that aspartame in there. So how come
what?
Having worked at Strider all those years,
okay.
How come Strider doesn't have this?
Because I believe this is proprietary.
So who are they paying?
Well, they're not paying anybody. That's not Strider.
This is Microtech.
Yeah.
It's a collab with Strider.
Well, that's how they got around it.
Who owns that?
I don't know. It's just like...
But the flip, it's like the Spyderco loop, right? The way they got around the Spyderco loop to not pay Spyderco is some companies made their circle an oval, right? So then they didn't have to pay royalty. But I wonder who has the patent or trademark on that flip.
I don't know, but I'm sure that's why they didn't do it because, as you know, we were using hinderers for a long time. Hinderers.
Okay.
And those hinderers, even when I started working there, so they probably already been using hinderers for
like their
8
flip
years
thing or their opener thing or whatever.
Yeah, 8 years. The little circle that's on that Strider, that little hinderer.
Okay.
They were paying him a royalty, and that was just a stupid circle. So I'm sure that, Mick is like, I'm not paying anybody any more fucking royalties,
Got it.
why do it? I don't know that. I may be completely wrong.
So I like because I'm never going to maintain these, right?
Right.
It's all gummed up. It's all nasty, but I can still, there's a lot of times, because I don't ever flip a knife, right? When I was younger, I could just flip it. Me and little gay Rich would sit around and we'd fucking have those Emersons. But sometimes it would come out of your hand and it would cut your girlfriend when it fucking stuck in her leg. Like Jennifer, Cody's mom, she's probably got she probably needed stitches. I dropped a Timberland Spec War. It was Emerson design, but Timberland made this knife and it was attached with a seal somehow, but it had a sheath with it that you could rig all kinds of ways, but you couldn't get it out of there. Sometimes you would cut yourself a lot, if you're holding the sheath. And I pulled it out and fucking it fell out of it, flew out and stuck in her calf, sliced her open. And then same thing. But that's what I'm talking about. I'll go to flip a Strider open, and I don't even do that anymore because I just fuck it. I'll just open it because I know somebody's getting cut if that comes out of my hand. But this.
Nobody's getting cut?
I was confident that this was not going to splay you open. What is this, 20, what
episode?
It
broke the tip.
No, it's not 25.
It is.
No.
24 just went up last night.
Are you sure that's...
2 nights ago.
I don't think so, buddy. I was just listening to me and you on the podcast.
Oh, were we on the podcast? What podcast was that?
The episode 26 that just went up.
26 could not have gone up.
Stand by.
Anyways, what I was telling you is because you're a corporation and they are doing woke credits now for corporations, hence the reason why Bud Light did their stupid little camp thing. They're going to end up forcing you to be part of that, and you're going to have to turn the Porsche in and get you a couple of EVs.
So that we can't drive. Why don't we just not have cars at that point?
Well, they would be more than happy for you not to have a car.
Because that's about as fucking useful as the electric vehicles are.
You should hear the debauchery going on in Congress about semi-trucks.
Okay, you're right. 24. This is Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 25. Brandel was right. Jeff was right. This is
I mean, it's your podcast. We could call it 27 if you want to. Who gives a shit?
we're drinking Total War, and Jeff's drinking Diet Pepsi.
Of course.
You said we haven't fought Total War in a long time. What's Total War look like?
Total War looks like World War II. Total War looks like the U.S. Navy losing ships. So
it's bad for us.
Well, I mean, that's Total War. The reality is we haven't fought Total War since World War II. Well, I take it back.
Are we going to allow them
in the beginning of Korea, it was Total War.
I think that we would do better at war if they didn't have cell phones.
If who didn't have cell phones?
All the people that are going to talk about all the war atrocities that we're going to commit. Well, somebody said something the other day. It's not the first time's not a war. Yeah, that's what it was. The first time's not a war crime. I never fucking heard that.
The first time's not a war crime?
It's not a war crime the first time because there wasn't a rule about it.
There wasn't a rule about it? There's all kinds of rules. Like
we're going to have community guideline standards for war now.
Like the beginning of this war, do you think about the beginning of the Ukraine war? Putin sent assassin teams. So legit Spetsnaz crossed the border into Ukraine with the sole purpose of killing Zelensky, right? They caught these assassin teams.
I think we'd have been better off.
Well, maybe. We probably all would have been better off if the Russians would have been able to take Ukraine.
Donbass
but they specifically sent assassin teams to kill the president of Ukraine. And nobody made a big deal about it. They were like, okay, well, that's war. That's what happens. And recently, all the news media is out there up in arms, like making a stink about the fact that Russia says that the Ukrainians launched 2 drones specifically to kill Putin.
Yeah.
And it's like, who isn't that the point of war? That's you guys are acting like you're kings and you're not allowed to be killed.
Well, they are. That's what they think they are.
I know.
I mean, that's what World War II was. That's this spoiled little.
He is
rich
the commander.
children.
He is the commander in chief. Putin is the commander in chief. He is a viable target. Just like if we were to go to war with North Korea and they killed Biden, he's a target. He's the commander in chief of our armed forces. So he is a combatant. He's not a non-combatant. Same thing with Congress. Congress is supposed to, but because they are chicken shits, they are the ones that are supposed to declare war. That makes them combatants.
There's not been a war declared. Vietnam wasn't even declared,
Nope.
was it? All right, so here's some questions.
We got questions.
Here's a few Here's a guy that's mad.
There's mad guys? Why are you mad?
Oh, he's mad.
What is he mad about?
He's big mad, right? I never thought I'd say that.
Is he mad because...
Did you have a big time this weekend? Oh, he's big mad, right? That's a Tennessee thing. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe some other places, too. All right, here's some questions from our Patreon.
Patreon?
Blind Man.
We have a Patreon?
We have a Patreon. We have 4 members.
Really?
I don't
well,
know.
then we better answer their questions because that's important.
There's
we only
a few
got
more
4
than
members.
4. Blind Man. Is Tennessee getting too busy? What's your thoughts on Southern Missouri?
I have no thoughts on Southern Missouri.
I couldn't even point to it on a map.
I have no thoughts on Southern Missouri in the sense that, well, there is that town right across the border that we talked about.
Buying? We have a town you can buy in
that
Missouri.
is completely fallen apart in Missouri.
But they do have they do have a baby drop box though.
That is Southern Missouri. The question is,
what state does Missouri touch?
What did I cross? When you cross the bridge, you're crossing out of. That's that little secret corner over there where you actually go through like 9 states in order to get to.
So you're a felony in like 4
of them. Yeah. Yes.
Tennessee.
Huh?
It touches Tennessee.
Yeah. But you gotta, in order to get there, you have to go into another state.
Across a river or something.
Across a river and shit.
Yeah.
So.
Are they friendly or is it communist there?
Well, I don't know. I don't know Missouri laws.
Well, if he's asking about it, we don't know shit about it.
Yeah.
Is Tennessee too busy? Yes. Stop moving here.
It is too busy.
But it's not. It's nothing like going to a real city, though. I mean, Tennessee is nothing like going to California or anything. I mean,
here's the thing: when people even Nashville's blown up. It's gotten super big. But when people in Nashville or in Tennessee in general complain about traffic, like when they're like, "Oh my God, it took me 30 minutes to get to the airport. It's outrageous, this traffic. Like, they're talking about midnight traffic in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They're not talking about real traffic. Like, even in the worst time of the day, like when in the morning or in the afternoon, if you need to get to the airport, which is completely on the other side of Nashville, 30 minutes?
Maybe. I mean,
30 minutes of traffic? Like, it's not. It's, yeah, traffic can get crazy, and people drive a lot different here, but they don't know traffic.
You go into Nashville quite frequently. Would you say there's a lot of traffic?
The problem is people are moving in so suddenly, and our roads aren't made for it yet.
Yeah. The only thing I notice with like people moving in is they complain about here, right? They move. You ran away from somewhere.
Yeah.
Escaped, came here, and now you're mad that it's not like where you came from. We run into Nashville on the weekends. It's 90 minutes to get there. We run about 85 miles an hour typically. And every now and then you'll see some traffic. I don't go into Nashville very frequently, like during business operating hours, mostly just on the weekends.
East of Nashville is worse than west of Nashville.
I tend to have to make a lot of airport runs, and for some reason everybody wants to fly in at like 5:30 or 4:30. And so, again,
because they're coming out to work.
I always, when I am planning to leave, I always think, oh shit, they're getting it at 5 o'clock. There's going to be, everybody's getting off work. I need to plan for 2 hours. I'm thinking California. I'm not thinking Tennessee. And it only takes me 30 minutes to get from one side of the town to the other.
And the airport in Nashville sucks in the manner that all the restaurants are through security check. So if you're there to pick somebody up, you've got a really shitty Starbucks. And sometimes those girls at Starbucks are happy to be at work, and sometimes they are not fucking happy to be there.
If you stop at Royal Range and peruse the gun selection, it's 30 minutes from Royal Range to the airport.
And the Royal Range is neat. It used to be a movie theater, and they converted the movie theaters into ranges.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Classrooms and stuff.
I'm sure. I would assume that they're not the first people to do that, but it's nice.
So they bought it cheap because it flooded there. Like their whole flood wiped that whole fucking place out of there. So they were able to.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's neat. James was real friendly with the dudes there. Like I've been in there a couple times, but James was good friends with those people.
Yes, I don't know anything about Missouri except, is it Carthage? Carthage, Missouri?
Carthage, Tennessee. There might be a Carthage, Missouri also, but we have a Carthage.
I can't think of it. That's a town that I would really like to explore because it's got lots of mansions from the 1800s, and it is falling apart. Somebody
just hit up, they did, some pussies were in one of the urban exploration groups, just was at the skyscraper with a revolving restaurant on top in Memphis. And, of course, they didn't have any pictures of the inside. Somebody put a link up that had some excellent pictures of the inside. But like everybody, it's being revitalized. No, motherfucker, it's not. It's not being revitalized. Some kids just vandalized the shit out of it, broke all the windows. The restaurant up top's full of vultures. If you weren't a pussy, you'd know that. But anyways.
Full of vultures?
Oh, yeah. Like fucking all the vultures in Memphis live in
that would be kind of cool to see.
Restaurant. So the restaurant's a trip. It rotated. And the way it would rotate is they had the whole thing built on like these big semi-truck tires. So the motor would drive it and they would just kind of roll. Well, they're all flat and the track's fucked up and all the glass is broke. It's demolished, man. It used to be really nice. There's a giant bank on the first floor. Up a ways there was like dentist offices and stuff.
Hey, sounds like a perfect opportunity for a second Bass Pro Shop.
So the Bass Pro Shop's pretty cool. If you're
that was a defunct building too.
Yeah, if you're ever in Memphis, even if you don't like fishing and outdoors, the Bass Pro Shop's neat. There's a Ducks Unlimited museum in there, and they have some. Have you been there?
I have not gone to.
Dude, they have some very cool history in there. They have like the punt guns and stuff, and there's a lot of guns that you'll never see. There's like a few in the world.
The problem is it's in Memphis.
So it is, but you don't like when you hear Memphis. That's like it when you'll be driving in Memphis. It's trip, right? I feel like people like fuck this place and then went and started Nashville. Or maybe people in Nashville, like all the churches, are like, okay, we'll go start our own thing. Because there's a lot of wealthy areas. You'll be driving and you're like, that's fucking Hogwarts, all these colleges and shit. And then literally the next block, you're like, holy shit, that's like Fort Apache, the Bronx. That fucking police station's burnt down, and somebody like missile struck the front of the building. And you look, and you're like, there's a dude up there on the 3rd floor. And there's it looks like a fucking RPG hit that motherfucker.
Now I want to go.
So you know when you're not supposed, when you run in and like Debo's out there whistling and shit.
On top of the police station?
Yeah, you know, you're like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, now I want to go. I want to go see
there is
the
a
RPG
lot
hits.
of abandoned industry there. It's pretty cool. Some abandoned hospitals and stuff. So Chad Case says, I'm looking to get into drones. What would you recommend? And do you have a pouch that can fit a drive? I don't know what a drive is.
Hard drive, maybe?
Maybe. What do you use for drones? Scully doesn't have a drone, but let me tell Scully why he needs a drone. Okay? You don't have to even have an expensive one. You need a drone because...
To drop grenades?
No.
Oh.
That would be wrong.
Would it? They're doing it in Ukraine.
They've been doing it in fucking Mexico and Israel for like 20 years. You need a drone so that when you see smoke, you can turn, and within 1 minute, you can know where that smoke is and how much of a threat it is to you.
There's a huge, speaking of this, as I was coming across the bridge, huge fire north of us. And I was like,
luckily there's a river between us.
I was like, it's on this side of the river, I think. I was like, that's a lot of black smoke. I wonder if they derailed another train somewhere.
Ooh, maybe. That does happen quite a bit. But you need to worry, well, you don't. I need to worry about that fucking chemical plant on the other side of the road, on the other side of the river. But with a drone, you hear equipment or whatever, right? You're like, that sounds like a bulldozer. You can put it up and see if it's on your property or what's going on, or you hear coyotes chattering, you can throw it up within a minute. And you don't need an expensive drone. What I fly is a 2S. It's a mini 2S, and I was not sold on this thing because I've got the Mavic Pros and I've got the Mavic 2 Pros and the Mavic 2 Zooms. Both of them Hasselblad camera, 1-inch lens on the Pro. I like the Zoom because I can zoom in and out, which is interpolated. It's not a real zoom. And I've got a dozen of them maybe. I have a 5-gallon bucket in there full of ones I've crashed. And if you touch a power line with it, or you get too close to a building, it kind of makes its own weather and sucks itself in, and you'll watch, you're trying to power out and it's just pulling it right, and it'll just walk down the bill, or your Porsche or your Range Rover. It's done that too. And they stopped making them. They'll still kind of repair them, especially if you bought DJI Care. But this 2S Mini, I was not big on it. I cannot tell the difference on the film. Now that I've flown it, and one of the first times we had it out, we were at a church, and when I was flying around this big steeple at this church, I realized there was a bunch of abandoned school buses around back. So I'm flying blind, which you're not supposed to do, and I'm flying through the broken windows on a school bus. And I was coming out, and I spend more time looking for my drone than flying my drone. I like to see where my drone is, which is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because what you see here is not always what is actually here. Anyways, I flew it into a tree, and I'm watching it, and it goes, and I'm watching, I'm like, where is that tree at? Well, it was right next to me, and it flew into the tree, flipped upside down, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, fuck, man, brand new drone, broken. Picked it up, not a scratch on it. I hit a power line out here, or a guy wire out here a week ago. I've ran that drone into things to where I come back and half of a propeller's missing. And it still runs. I don't know if they just changed the plastic in it or what. Very, very pleased with the 2S. They've got the 2S Mini. The 3S is out. They all come now with smart controllers that have a monitor, so you don't have to tether them to your phone. I have the actual smart controller. It costs almost as much as the drone, but it's a game changer. I can record on the drone and that, or I can fill a card there and over here. But you're getting 30-minute flights out of these things. You're going to hear a lot of people tell you that you can buy these other brands or whatever. I don't know about the other brands. I know that DJI, I've been very pleased with them, and that's what I would get if I was going to buy another one.
My problem is technology moves too fast, but also too slow. So when you say get a drone, I'll be like, yeah, let's get a drone. I'm going to get on the computer, and I'm going to look on the computer and be like, yeah, I'm going to get this camera, and then I want a thermal, and then it's $100,000 drone. and then I'm looking at it, and it's like next year we're gonna go fund the same drone, and it's only gonna be $500. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the $500 drone, and then when the $500 drone comes out, the new tactical drone, it's just I can't.
So Ranger Dave,
I can't just make the decision and buy a drone because it's a big investment, and I've crashed a couple at my house.
So these are okay. Now the new 3 Mini does not have as many sensors. It has forward sensors, which will keep you from, in theory, running into stuff. You can shut all that down. I fly almost exclusively in sport mode, so all my sensors are off anyways. But the 2 has more sensors. I would buy another 2 right now if I saw them somewhere on sale, or I should probably look on Amazon and just keep a new one in the box. Ranger Dave went and bought a no-name drone. It's just like a DJI, is just good as and it probably is. And that mother, he had a vinyl decal kit that made these things all OD green. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm making mine orange because when I crash that motherfucker, I need to be able to find it. Yeah. With my other drone. But he had them OD green and a black one and had the lights blacked out and shit. So he goes to tether it up and it won't tether to his 1984 cell phone.
That's the other thing.
That he has jailbroke.
A super old phone.
This is also Ranger Dave, who does everything on Linux. So he's going to take all of our patterns and digitize them. So he digitizes all the patterns in Linux and then goes to give me the file. My computer won't open it. So he takes and does something to my computer to put Linux on it and completely shits the system. The whole computer's fried. Brand new $3,000 computer doesn't do shit. Like I don't have a bucket. I have a box full of computers that don't work. Like a computer lasts me about a year and a half probably. So he goes and buys another phone, but they want to tether it up and register it, and they want to identify. And he's like, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this." So he's got 2. He's in it for like a couple grand. He's got 2 drones. He's got 2 or 3 phones that he's bought, like burner phones from Walmart, and he's like just losing his shit. I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind. I'm like, Dave, the girl at the counter, she doesn't care.
Yeah,
man.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care. So while Dave was here, one of the devices he was using ceased to work because they have turned off 2G or 3G or whatever the fuck it was. It just stopped working. And when they did that, we're going to impoverished America is dumb because they don't have access to internet, right? So the government does all this 5G bullshit. I think it's very insidious and there's a lot more to it. But they put all these 5G towers up, and with 5G it doesn't push as far, so they need a tower like every half a mile or something.
Can't force digital currency if everybody
Correct.
Can't access the internet.
Right. That's right. So they put these towers up. When you used to walk out the door, you'd see one beacon at night, one red light blinking or whatever. And now you see literally like 6 of them, right? And if you drive back here, there's a dozen of them. When they put all these towers up, our cell signal went to shit. Like Verizon does not fucking work at all here on the property. Like I'm always on we put Starlink boosters. There's a Starlink booster in here. There's a Starlink booster up at the rabbit shed now. So I still have seamless internet, but I don't have it from Verizon. So the next question, Bill. John, I'm willing to bet, since the Great War on Terror has ended and they are worrying about China, that your old school Rallyman vest and old style deuce gear is going to be selling again. That's funny you say that because we have had an influx. Now, by influx, I mean a couple dudes a week, but we've gone years where dudes that hasn't been on the radar. And somebody must be chattering about it because we have a fucking huge amount of kids from overseas. Like, will you duplicate this? Will you build this? And they really want to chat you up. Like, will you build this in all green? Will you build this? I told a kid, yeah, we're doing a butt pack. This run is black and OD. He's like, well, you do it all OD. I'm like, it'll have black buckles. Like, we can't get OD buckles. Like, the warehouse that we've been using for 25 years now is like, remember when they stopped like OD 3-inch, so we had to fold and make the lid covers? They don't have it. There's no, like, we've been buying foliage color all this time. They're not stocking foliage or OD. They're like, we will order it for you, 6 months delivery time to get this shit. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. We'll just go back old school. Everything will be black for the buckles. So this kid's like, okay, but will you build me this one? And he got a picture of our old website that doesn't even exist anymore. He must have pulled it out of like Wayback Machine or something. I'm like, yeah, I'll build it for you, $350. He's like, okay. Like, they don't even bat an eye. I don't know where these kids, I assume he's a kid, but a dude hit me up the other day and he's like, hey, I met a friend of yours, Mike Desmuke. And like, that's okay. That's a fucking secret handshake right there. And he's like, I was talking to him about these rigs and I really want to get like one of your patrol vests or your rallyman vests. And I just kind of like, yeah, we build them, but I only do, a few of them every few months. And I really only do it for existing customers, get on our email, participate. Basically, I have enough orders for those. So then the dude comes back with a legit email address. And I'm like, okay, well, he fucking forwarded the chain from the impressive email address. And I'm like, all right, roger that. And that's exactly what this dude's saying right here. So he said, transportation, Great War of Terror, active guys. Active guys are saying they are ditching plate carriers and dudes are back to the old style stuff. Would like to hear what the bearded Yeti that sits next to you has to say on this.
I mean, I don't know if guys are actually ditching plate carriers. I don't think
especially dudes that have really been shot at.
I don't think you're ever going to see running through the jungle with my M16 again. Everybody's going to be wearing plate carriers because why would you not? Now, with the new calibers, and so for example, the 277 Fury and that 51 by 68, that the new rifle from why am I having a brain fart? SIG, the new rifle from SIG that we're adopting.
So that's real. I mean, do you remember when Bobby stood in here and said it was going to be 6.8?
Yeah, that's real.
It was a SIG rifle, and you're like, no fucking way.
Well, no, my argument is always, it doesn't matter. My argument is this: it doesn't matter caliber, it doesn't matter. Lipstick on a pig is what we've been doing with the M4 all these years. The issue always is when we talk about we're going to get 6.8 or we're going to get this. It's not NATO. The issue is it's not NATO. And so it's real easy for like Green Berets to run around with 6.8 rifles or 300 Blackout.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore because Ukraine can fund all of it now.
Yeah. It's real easy to run around with those specific calibers like Det 1 going over with 408 Chi-Tech. The U.S. military never adopted 408 Chi-Tech, but Det 1 was still smoking dudes.
Never even heard of 408 Chi-Tech.
It's around.
I've heard of Chi-Tech.
It's around.
I'm not doubting you.
They're actually here in Tennessee now.
Different company. They're here, but it's a different.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Guys. But anyways, so it's when people talk about,
and they're not very impressive. Their guns might be awesome, but one of their dudes came in here to get a job, and he lasted like 3 hours. He's like, I can't stand here on my feet like this.
We make weak men. So it's easy, like, because that's always the thing, right? When the FN SCARs came out, and everybody was like, "Oh, the Army's going to go to FN SCARs."
So the SEAL sent them back. They wanted them to eject on the other side or something. There was some crazy shit. And then, what's with the fucking? We were talking about that.
Yeah,
the other
reciprocating charging handle. That's a like.
Will it hurt you?
No, it won't really hurt you, but it'll if you impede the charging handle in some way, you create a malfunction.
So like the HK, when you fucking rack that thing, it doesn't move when you fire. It stays in the forward position. So I wonder why High Point didn't design that better for HK.
From what I understand, you mean for FN?
No, I'm talking. Well, yeah.
From what I understand,
so I wonder why High Point didn't design the SCAR better for FN.
But what I understand is when High Point sent the design to FN, the charging handle was non-reciprocating, but FN wanted to stay old school because of the FN FALs, and they wanted a reciprocating charging handle, and so that's why. So now High Point has actually sent a remedial fix for the SCARs, and so you can get a SCAR now that doesn't have a reciprocating charging handle.
Austin, there's your soundbite. Fucking High Point's been going through and like interacting on all those things.
So yeah, High Point definitely has fixed the problem for FN. But I'm just saying that,
Okay, so who's
weird
adopt?
calibers?
What are we about to adopt?
The spear, the SIG spear. The Army has said it's going to adopt it, but I still am under the opinion that the only people you're going to see running around with that rifle is going to be ninjas. That the ninjas are going to run around it. Well, that 277 Fury and the 6.8 by 51,
right through plates.
So again, the reason why when you think about people like in Vietnam, special operators or even a lot of the guys didn't wear armor is because the arrows were too good. The arrows would go right through the armor. So why wear armor? So if we create a weapon system,
they have flak vests for fragmentation.
Yeah. If we create a weapon system that defeats the armor, that shoots right through it, why would you wear it?
So if we have that, surely our adversaries are going to have it.
It's only a matter of time. If we put that rifle out in numbers, like if, let's say, I don't know, for some crazy reason, the 82nd Airborne gets that rifle, it will only be a matter of time before the Chinese will have a similar version weapon system that will also shoot through plates. And at the point that you're running around on the battlefield with something that only works, 30% of the time, you're going to ditch that. You don't want the weight.
So are they going to do belt feds in that caliber also?
Yes. Well, no, the belt fed is it's a 300 Win Mag something. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And the Army's already adopted that thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in use?
Don't know how in use it is.
So the big, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
What, so are they going to dump all that 7.6251? No, because then the peasants might be able to.
Well, there's still going to be, here's the thing. There's still going to be dudes running around with 240 Gulfs. There's still going to be, for example, the Marine Corps dumped the saw so they could get that full auto HK gizmo. There's still Marines running around with saws.
What's the HK gizmo? Like an HK-21?
Yeah, it's the I can't remember what the model number is, but it's considered it's considered the squad automatic rifle, and so it's just an HK that's full auto. It's a terrible idea, and I mean the reality is the Marine Corps should be absorbed by the Army, and that we should be done with it. The current leadership in the Marine Corps is
insane.
Worthless.
Insane.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to ensure that the Marine Corps is not capable of fighting anywhere in the world.
Almost intentional, it seems.
It does almost seem intentional because, again, they have gotten rid of weapon systems. They've gotten rid of weapon systems and not replaced them. So it has to be intentional. The Commandant, even the reality is the Commandant just came out the other day and apologized that the Marine Corps wasn't ready in 2 separate incidents. He blamed it on the Navy, but it wasn't the Navy's fault.
I thought the Marine Corps was getting its own ships.
It's for the littoral combat ships. They're never going to get those. It's a fucking pipe dream. There's no way.
Do they also hover and go on land and shit?
That's what I'm saying. By the time the generals are done with it, they're not going to get any of those fucking vessels.
Okay, here's our next question. This is a survival question.
Uh-oh.
If vehicle transportation... Okay, so did we answer that dude's question about the plate carriers? Yeah, I guess we did.
The
probably
LBVs. Not, but the LBVs...
While we were on the LBVs, all you guys... that think we're going to fight on the homeland here, the LBV is what you're going to want. You're going to want, because you're not going to want to be in gunfights, right? You're going to be running small unit operations. You're going to, like Jeff said a week or so ago, you're going to pick the battle, preferably when everybody's asleep. And you're going to want to get out of there, right? You're going to want to get in, do what you're going to do, and get out without being seen. Those are the kind of rigs you're going to want. For long-range maneuver, long-range stuff, because you're going to have to carry shit. You're going to have to carry your stuff because you're probably not going to have a base of operation.
And here's the difference too, is you're going to fight and die with what's on your back. So again, a plate carrier is a great thing. Those things do save lives, but it's more of a defensive idea, not an offensive idea. Yes, I know Delta Force and Rangers and all that do hits and raids wearing all that fucking kit. But the reality is they're not as nimble as they would be if they dumped all that shit. And when you're going against people that are in flip-flops, dude in flip-flops can smack you in the face and run away from you, and you can't catch him because you've got 900 pounds of bullshit on you. That's just the way it is. So it's better to be agile in a guerrilla type warfare, which means ditching the plate carriers, taking more ammo. Because again, like I said, you're going to fight and die with what's on your back. And if you're one of those guys that's like, I only need 3 AR-15 magazines, you ain't going to make it. Because I'm not giving you any of mine, and I'm carrying enough to fight.
How many is enough?
There never is enough.
How many loaded mags would you prefer to have on you?
14 total. 1 in the gun, 13 on the body.
And then how many?
And here's the thing: in a very limited scope and a limited firefight, I ran out of ammo one time.
How many mags?
13 mags. 14.
How many guys with you?
That
were engaging
10
with you.
Yeah.
And you ran out of 13.
And I will tell you this: there is nothing worse. There's nothing worse than being in a fight. You know you're still in a fight. Now, at this point, it had petered out a little bit, but you know that you're still in a fight. You're still out in the boondocks, and you have to make your way back to the firm base, and you have to pull out that fucking bullshit pistol. If there is nothing, it's like there is nothing more lame, nothing more scary, really, than pulling out. I would have rather pulled out a hand grenade and been holding a hand grenade than that fucking stupid pistol, because they're worthless.
There's another soundbite for you, Austin.
They are fucking pistols. Pistols in real combat are worthless. It's not like John Wick.
How many combatants were there? How many bad guys?
Oh, I don't know.
Unknown?
We were the real. Okay,
tell the story.
In that particular scenario, we were in a place that we were not supposed to be. It was
by whose rules?
Well, technically, by our rules. So there was a part of town. That was considered off limits because the bad guys own that part of town.
So everybody there is free. Free is a target.
Kind of. I mean, it was. We were still in a town, right? And so there was a part of town that we weren't supposed to be in. It was a known the actual company commander. The company commander who had been there before us had been killed there. It was one of the longest running gun battles that they had at that time was in this area. And so we decided that we were going to set up a LPOP there. And so I took 2 squads. One squad was in a house that was right on the border of the town. So one side is town, the other side is open field. And then I took a squad reinforced with a small rocket section.
What is that?
And a 240
small
Golf
rocket section.
Just 2 guys.
Like,
2 guys
with
it.
Small or what?
It's just a small reloadable rocket system. And then I had a 240 Golf section with me. So that's 3. That was 3 other additional Marines. And then I had a kind of reinforced fire team. So it was 10 guys, and we had moved into this police station. The police station was pretty secure. It had an outer 6-foot wall. Then it had an inner building that went around the inside, and then in the middle of that, it had another building. And so we moved in there. Again, we're not supposed to be there. I mean, when I say we're not supposed to be there, it was known Indian territory.
How do you get in there?
Nighttime.
I mean, but you is it a master lock you cut?
Oh yeah, we cut locks all the time.
That's how everything is. It's
there was basically there was a double gate up front that faced the road, and then there was a single door in the brick wall out back. And so,
did you ever have a guy with lock picks?
No, you ain't fucking lock. You ain't got time for that bullshit.
Carry cutters,
bolt cutters, or shoot it with your rifle. We got time for motherfuckers there. And what we would do really is everywhere you go, you find stuff. And so what I would do is I would find Iraqi locks. They're not using master locks over there. They use these weird locks. I would find Iraqi locks with keys, and I would keep them. And then when I would move into a spot, I would cut that Iraqi lock off, throw it away, and lock another one on there that I had the key for. And then when the Iraqi would come, Like if for some reason they were coming and they were going to go up to where you guys were at and they didn't know you were up there, they would fuck around with that lock and think it would be like,
and it give you a minute warning.
I got the wrong key and leave. And now we know it just gives you a little bit of time. And so we were in this police station and it was super quiet. Nothing was going on in town. I had guys up on the roof, and they basically, I think they were so comfortable with the fact that Americans wouldn't come down to that side of town, because we were pretty far from the firm base, that it was just business as usual down there. And so about 9:30, a dude comes, and he comes to the front gate. This old guy, he had to been, I bet he was 60. And he comes to the front gate, and he's doing the thing, trying to get the lock open, and he's doing the thing, trying to get the lock open. And one of my guys is like, hey, Staff Sergeant, there's a guy out there trying to get in the gate. Should we smoke him? I'm like, no, we're not going to smoke him. Let me go see. And so I peek out, and it's just this old guy, and he's fucking around with the gate. So,
and clearly he's supposed to be there.
Yeah, there was stuff, like it was an old police station, but they were using it to store, I'm sure it was road crew stuff, because there was like wheelbarrows and shovels and shit in there. And so I'm like, okay, this guy's he's not currently a threat. So I just walk out to the gate. I just walk right out to the gate, and, I'm standing there in all my fucking military glory, and he looks up at me, and he's like, just freezes. Oh shit.
Walks backwards.
And he's, and I'm like, you're no work today. I go, no work today.
Do you think he understood you?
Maybe not. I mean, you would be surprised at how many Iraqis actually speak English.
Do the Iraqi people drink alcohol a lot?
Not really.
Is there alcohol there?
There is alcohol.
What's their alcohol?
Anything you can think of. They have
everything.
Yeah, they have the same shit we have here. It just depends on how real religious they are, but like you're not going to go through houses and find liquor cabinets. It's very rare to find liquor, but there is liquor, right? It is there. All vices are there. It's just how hidden the vices are.
I picture if we ran through Russia, like people don't even drink water. It's just
it's just vodka. Yeah. So anyways, I tell him not today, and he leaves. And I go back, and I'm like, I tell the squad leader, I'm like, hey,
we're compromised.
This is it. They're gonna come now. And I go up on the roof. I take a position up on the roof, which was a bad idea, because there were basically two stairwells that went up to the roof. One stairwell was clear. The other stairwell, it had a box like you would see for an elevator, but it was just the opening for a stairwell. That stairwell was actually closed with rubble, so you couldn't go down that stairwell. You had to cross the roof to get to the stairwell. And so I'm up there, and you can see the intersection that comes into town. And there's a dude with an AK at the intersection, and he's got it slung, and he's stopping cars. He's stopping cars and making them turn around and go back. And so I'm like, hey, get ready. This is it.
Why is he stopping cars?
Because
they want more combatants in town.
Where we were at was, it would have been like if I occupied Camden, right? The bad guys were Camden locals. Okay. Right. And the Camden locals, I'll give them credit. They didn't want to fuck up any Camden. They didn't want anybody from Camden to get killed.
They're like, hey, don't come in here. There's about to be a gunfight.
They're controlling traffic in order to keep the gunfight down, right? And so they fire, for whatever reason, they fire 2 mortars at us, and they hit way right. And so I'm reporting this in. I'm like, hey, they're directing traffic. They just fired mortars at us. They didn't hit shit. Something's about to go down. And they're like, yes, they have closed the road. So there's a main road. It was a 4-lane road that went all the way through to the border checkpoint. And we controlled the border checkpoint. That's where the firm base was at. And then now...
Could you have had air on target? Could you have got birds?
Well, they do come.
Okay.
At this point, this was kind of the second engagement of the deployment. And so there's really not a threat. I mean, there's a threat, But we are not perceiving this as that big of a threat where we're trying to get air assets and shit like that. And so they're like, yes, they've closed the whole road. The whole road's closed. No civilians are running around. And we're like, okay, and they're like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I got fucking brick walls and Marines. There's nothing I'm worried about. And so I don't know why they did this, but they had a Chevy Blazer. It was white, by the way. Weird.
Full size or like a baby?
Full size. Al Collins must have been driving that bitch. But they had 4 bad guys in this Chevy Blazer, and they hauled ass down the road, all the way down, hit a turn spot, hauled ass all the way back up the road. I think they probably were just clearing civilians, like making sure, they're like, hey, we're going to go to war. You guys need to get out of the way. But then they came back, and when they came back, I thought, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a V-bid. They're going to hit that outer wall and blow up. So I pushed everybody to the back wall. Basically 3 buildings between us and the V-bid. I mean, if it was big enough, it wouldn't have mattered. But they didn't really use V-bids up there, and we only got hit once with one. But instead of crashing into the wall, they so the main road has these stupid little 2-foot iron fences along the inside of them, right? So you could technically walk down the middle. They crash up against the iron fence, so they high center the Suburban on the iron fence, and then get out. 4 of them get out and start shooting
at you.
They're not
fuck up their vehicle. Why didn't they just like
the vehicle was
stop and get out?
The vehicle was fucked, and so they jump out and they start shooting at the police station. Well, at that point, I'm like, okay, move back forward, engage the targets. And so we move back forward. Now I'm on the roof. There's a couple of guys on the other side, and we're just beating these guys to death. They don't go very far. And then once those guys get taken out, the whole town starts shooting at us. Like now everybody's like, oh, the Marines are really there, and they start shooting at us. Well, I'm still worried about the truck. Like the truck is fine outside of being high centered, but why would you do that? So I think that truck's got to be full of a fucking. They're gonna
detonate.
They're gonna detonate it, and up on the roof we're all exposed and shit. But this fight is happening. It's a legit fight. Now they're shooting RPGs at us and shit, and there's a mosque right across the street, a school. They're using both of those as targets, and so the Marines are. All my Marines at that point did exactly what they were supposed to do. I had a young corporal that was in the courtyard, and so he's in the middle of the courtyard and he can't see anything, right? And so I would just be like, I would yell at him. I'd be like, 100 yards, and give him a direction. And he was just shooting his 203. He was just shooting his 203 like a mortar. Boop, boom. And then I'd be like, okay, a little bit more left. Boop. And he'd fire that thing. And he was doing really good. And then his 203 broke. They tried to flank us, which was pretty interesting. They tried to get around and surround the position, and they didn't know that those other Marines were in that other building. And they had 4 203s. And I had made my guys, from the beginning, they were carrying 18 HEDP rounds. So every 203 gunner had a full complement of HEDP.
Those are the gold ones.
Yeah. And so they're trying to flank on that. They're trying to get on that flank. And that squad leader, he lined up all his 203s and just started firing indirect fire to keep him from being able to flank, which worked out really good. The other flank was a big fucking open field. And the 240 Golf that I brought with was covering that open field. And that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I'm trapped on this roof. I'm kind of trapped in this square. So I have to run across the roof to get to the stairs to go down. And they're shooting RPGs from about 150 yards away. There's a brick wall and blah, blah, blah. And so I have the small guys come up, and I have the small guy. Now, again, mind you, most people think in combat that everybody, by this time we had been in Iraq for 8 years, And so you think everybody's like a combat salty veteran. But the truth is the military has such a high turnover that chances are you only have a handful of guys. Even now, there are platoons that are going over. I guarantee you, they only have like a handful of guys that fought in any of Afghanistan or Iraq because we just have such a high turnover, right? So these small gunners come up there, and nobody has, up to this point, nobody has been fighting. Like, nobody has been fighting. This was right after Bush declared the war over in Iraq and shit. And so everything has been kind of mellow up to this point. This is when the insurgency just really kind of kicked off. And so I have my small gunner come out, and the team leader, he comes out on the roof, and he's got his M4, and I'm like, direction and distance to a RPG where the guy's firing from, because he's coming over the wall shooting and going back down. And I'm like, hit that fucking wall. And he's like, that wall? I'm like, yeah. And so I start shooting at the wall. And he's like, okay, that wall. That's where we're going to shoot. And so he has his fucking gunner come up on the roof, and he's all got his shit. And I'm like, fire that motherfucker. And the team leader's like, hey, shoot over there, hit that wall. And the team leader, he turns and he looks at me, and he's like, can we shoot the rocket? I'm like, yes, shoot the fucking rocket. Because again, the issue at this point, like I had Marines ask if they can shoot their 203. This was an earlier engagement.
Do they even fire a real rocket in training anymore? They probably haven't even used
I don't
one.
know if those guys actually had ever fired before. And so the team leader starts shooting his fucking gun at the wall where he wants him to shoot. And I'm like, just shoot the fucking rocket. And because I wanted them to know that we had one too, right? That we have a rocket too. Haha, you're not as cool as you thought you were. And so the small rocket has a fucking... It has this stupid 9mm. It's not stupid. It's a little spotting round. It's a little spotting round, so the gunner knows that he's fucking aiming at the right target and shit. And so I've already yelled at them to just at this point, I don't even care if the dude just shoots it in the air. I want them to know we have one too, right? And so he starts shooting that spot. The team leader's like, right there. He shoots his gun. The guy starts firing his spotter. Pew, pew, pew. I'm like, what the fuck are you? I don't care. Just shoot that direction. I don't care what it hits. I don't even care if you hit the motherfucker now. Just shoot. I want them to know we have one too. And so he finally shoots it, and it goes and hits the fucking wall.
Does it knock the building
and the smoke clears. And I'm like, smoke clears. And I look at him. I go, that's it? That's all that fucking thing does? And they're like, well, yeah, Staff Sergeant, these are for tanks. We're not. This is the anti-armor round. We don't have any of the just regular HE or the NA rounds that they eventually got.
What's NA?
That's that fuel air explosive one that sucks all the air. It's like, we don't have those. We just have these. I go, I don't care. Load it up again. We're going to use it again. And so after they fired the rocket, I ran across the top of the building to get to the stairwell. And when I got to the stairwell, there was a young Marine, Campbell. I believe he was a sergeant at the time. He may have been a corporal, but great Marine. He may have just recently retired from fucking MARSOC. And he was the section leader for the 240 Gulf that we had. And I run across the stairwell. And again, I wish I would have had like a fucking GoPro or something, because it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. These kids had knocked this window out, and the windows in Iraq, a lot of them will have rebar in them in order to keep bad guys from, coming in and stealing their shit.
Or other Iraqis.
Yeah. And this crew had knocked that window out, and they had that 240 Gulf on that rebar, and they were just sliding back and forth, just decimating that open field that they were trying to come across. And I when I got through the door, there's brass all over the fucking ground, and they're just going to town, and Campbell's directing them to targets and shit. And I, for a good, it was probably only 2 seconds, everything stopped, and I was watching then, and I'm like, man, that is the fucking coolest shit I have ever seen in the military. And then Campbell was like the thing that snapped me out of it, Campbell's like, hey, we're running out of ammo. We need more ammo. And I'm like, you hold the You hold it, I'll get it. Anyway, so I went down and found their ammo and shit. And by this time, we've probably been in the fight, everybody's shooting for about 30 minutes. And the CO is blowing up my radio. He wants to know what the hell's going on and why. And
the CO's back at base?
Yeah, he's back at the firm base.
Is he physically hearing this gunfight?
Yeah, we were far enough away that you wouldn't want to run there, but close enough to where you knew that there was a fight going on, right?
Did he want to make sure you guys were okay, or did
he
want to come to the fight?
I don't know if they wanted to come to this fight or not. Again, Baker Company was pretty new. Like, we had a whole new staff, this is the first time this company commander had been in the fight, and so there were hesitation. Like I said, I had Marines that would ask permission, like guys would be shooting and they'd be like, bad guys would be shooting, they'd be like, Staff Sergeant, is it okay if we light that motherfucker up? They would hesitate because that's the kind of thing that the Marine Corps embeds in Marines.
How it is now.
Is that just, you don't want to get in trouble. Like, they don't want to get in trouble, and as soon as you take the leash off, you're fucked. I mean,
well, that's what
those
I meant.
Guys are fucked.
That's what I meant when I said if you want total war,
yeah,
fucking remove the fucking cell phone, remove the tattletale.
As soon as you take the leash off, then they are all about.
Do you think it's that way in the Army too?
I don't know. My Army experience is very limited. I wasn't very impressed what they were doing up in the Hadith area, and it wasn't the soldiers' fault. It was the Army's fault.
Right.
The Army was putting units in areas that were way too big with way too many troops. So they had I don't know what that fucking their LAV's called. Anyways, they had that eight-wheeled LAV version up there, and they were putting 2 soldiers in those vehicles and just driving around towns.
Just for presence.
Just for presence, which was fucking bullshit. Anyways, so that was basically they wanted to know, the CO wanted to know what targets there were, and I'm like, there was a internet cafe, a mosque, and a school. And we weren't blowing up a mosque and a school. So but
they were firing at you from the mosque and school?
Yeah. So they got F-18s. We got some Cobra gunships and some F-18s.
When you call for close air support, do you get to choose what shows up?
No, it's whatever's on station. And so we had a MEU that was close by. So we got a Huey helicopter. We got a Cobra gunship, and then a couple F-18s. I believe they came from a carrier group. And so from the firm base, they could see, like, everybody was outside packing their shit. Like, they were putting guns inside their minivans and shit. Everybody was coming down to fight us, and they could see that from the firm base. And so
there was firm base not shoot at them?
They were just a little bit out of small arms range. I don't know why they didn't fire 81s at them. But again, at this point, we were just putting our toes in the water as far as where we were and what we were doing.
Were you guys told to be there?
To be where? Yeah. It was Camp Gannon was where we were at, and that was literally the wild west of Iraq. The Army, when the Army was there, they had an entire brigade. So they had Apache helicopters, M1 Abrams. They had an entire brigade covering this small town along the border of Syria, and they turned it over to us, to the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps went, okay, what did you have up there? You had a brigade. Okay, we're going to send a weapons company. So we sent a weapons company.
How many people is that?
Fuck, I don't know. Maybe there's 250 of us up there, maybe 250, maybe. I don't know the exact numbers on a weapons, because it was weapons reinforced. So there was 3 rifle platoons. There were 3 rifle platoons that were also with weapons, and we had a sniper section, and so they're loading this van up, and Cobra gunship is like, hey, we're gonna hit this van, and so they make a gun pass. They make a minigun pass. doesn't do what they want to do. And so they're like, we're going to fire a tow missile at this bitch. And they fire a tow missile at this van. And war is war, and it's weird how things work out. Well, they fire the tow missile. And the only reason why I know this is because the air crews sent us all their gun camera footage afterwards, because they were like, best thing that ever happened.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it all. And so they fire a tow missile at this van, and it looks like it blows the shit out of this van. Like you're like, yeah, he blew the shit out of that van. It
comes out of the dust.
And then the smoke clears, and the van is still sitting there. What happened was the missile came down and went under the van.
Holy shit.
Past the van and hit the curb on the other side. and blew up. So it didn't
Did it kill all the occupants?
Didn't kill the van, no. And so that's why he made
just got out and walked away.
That's why he made the gun run. He made the gun run second. So second time he comes down with the 20 millimeter and hoses it down, because I think he was embarrassed that he didn't want to fire another tow missile. And then I had two F-18s coming in on station, and at that time the Marine Corps, it was probably everybody. I don't think it was just the Marine Corps. They had joint JTACs, and so you were not allowed to call your own air in. So I would have to call back to the firm base and tell them the targets and distance and all that. But
you didn't have a FAC with you?
No. Oh. No, there's not enough. There's not enough to be at that level, at that low level. Even though I was a JTAC, they train a bunch of guys to be JTACs, but they will only really talk to the air officer. So I'm talking to the air officer. Air officer's talking to the pilots. Now, anybody knows how those bomb runs are supposed to go. They're not supposed to go right over your head, but the way they lined up was right over our head. So you see these F-18s, they're just a glimpse in the sky. It's not like the movies. They don't have to fly nape of the earth to drop a bomb. So it's just this glimmer in the sky, and you see them,
but you definitely hear them.
No, you don't. At that altitude, you don't even. I just don't remember, because there was a lot of shit going on.
Do you hear the ordnance coming in?
Nope. So I see him turning and lining up, and I'm like, well, they're supposed to be running parallel to us. They're not supposed to be running right on us. And so I call the FAC, and the FAC's like, nah, it's good. You guys are okay. And the Internet Cafe, the target that we're going to hit, is literally right across the street. It's it may have been 150 yards away from our position. Now that is extremely danger close, like super danger close. So as soon as these F-18s line up, I'm like, everybody come down, get into the center building, get up against the walls. I tell Porter, I'm like, open all the fucking windows, because the windows pushed out, and I was worried about the glass and shit like that.
Open your mouth.
And so I'm like, this is going to be good. And I'm standing in the courtyard with the radio listening to the FAC. Now I see this F-18, and the FAC calls wings level, which, again, there's no way the FAC could call wings level, because he can't see this aircraft, but he calls wings level on his, and he's level, and he's facing me. And so you have this F-18, it's like a glimmer, a little sheen in the sky coming right at you. And they call the pop, they drop the ordnance, and I can see those fucking 1,000-pounders coming off. They just are 500-pounders. It was 2 500-pounders they dropped. I can see them drop off the aircraft, and they're flying right towards me. And Porter's inside the room, and he's like, are we going to be good, Staff Sergeant? Are we going to be good? I go, either this is going to be really, really bad, or this is going to be the coolest shit you've ever seen. And those fucking 2 500-pounders, they glide right on over the top of us and fucking just destroy that fucking building. Like 3 years later, I'm back in the same town by accident, and me and Porter's with me again. He's a sergeant at the time. It's me, Porter, and somebody else. I have to look at the picture. We drive back into Indian country. This building has still been destroyed. I'm like, get out of the vehicle. We got to go over and take a picture. So we went over and took a picture in front of the building. All the Iraqis are like,
When those 500-pounders hit that cafe, is there debris from the rocket there? Is there anything left you could pick up? Like
no. Well, I mean, if we could have went over there and kind of checked it out, I'm sure I could have found a piece of that, a piece of the bomb. But no, we didn't do that because it was a continuous rolling fight. And when the sun went down,
but I mean, like the Iraqis, could they have picked up a?
Oh yeah, they could have picked up trinkets. Yeah.
So a pop is when the pilot comes up and physically puts eyes on the target, correct?
Yeah, when he pops over, he'll do physical eyes on the target. I don't believe they did that. I think everything that they did was off of the facts, his coordinates that he gave. Because again, the place we were at, that town was completely 100% mapped out. So the reality is everybody knew where everything was. And so it was like building 5, this location. And so, yeah, that blew over and just fucking destroyed that building. And it went on for another, probably another hour and a half until it got dark. Not dark, sun went down. In this town, when the sun went down, everybody went home. And so there was always a lull in the fighting because they were going home to eat and, see their kids and shit. And so that was the time when we pulled out of that position and moved to where the other squad was. And then we got in a fight with Battalion Recon and some Iraqis that were fleeing the town, but that's a completely different story.
And you were fighting against the Iraqis, or they were on your side?
These Iraqis that were engaged were actually fleeing the town because of the fight that was going on. But that's a completely different story.
How'd you run out of ammo?
Just shooting at bad guys.
So what'd you do?
That's the other thing that people don't understand is, I think you get the wrong impression from John Wick and guys that run square bay ranges, like that. When you see square bay or whatever, or
ting, 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 ting.
They think that when they're in a gunfight, that they're actually seeing and shooting targets. The reality is, it's mostly about making as much noise as you possibly can. So if you have an idea, like if you have a direction and a distance, if you have an idea where a bad guy is, you're going to fire whether you see him or not. You're just going to keep putting fire down range because that keeps them from shooting at you because they're afraid they're going to get shot. So, when you think about how much,
But a reconnaissance team's not going to do that, right?
A reconnaissance team is going to, you've seen Tears of the Sun? I mean, it's even worse for a reconnaissance team because a reconnaissance team is so small. Recon teams are so small that they have to lay down as much fire as they possibly can in order to keep the element that they're shooting at from overwhelming them with just sheer size.
What about if you had conflict in the United States, right? You're not going to have resupply. You're going to have to steal it or find it or
again,
whatever.
If you're a conflict in the United States, I'm going to tell you're going to fight and die with what's on your back. If you are running around with the idea that the only targets you are going to shoot at or you're going to engage are targets you can see, then you are a dead man.
Would you have been better off if you had a bolt gun, a longer range rifle?
No, it was too close. It was all the engagement ranges were super close. I mean, I would say that outside of the guy that was directing traffic, and he disappeared real quick once the shooting started. He was probably 200 yards away from where we were at. But I mean, almost all the engagement ranges were just shooting across the street.
Now on that half wall up top where you guys are standing up top on the roof, those are made of brick or block or something, right? Those are stock bullets.
It's all brick and block.
In the United States, around those buildings, that's all a facade.
Yeah, it's not safe at all.
It's fucking a sheet of plywood with some stucco and shit on it. Guys, bullets will go through those things.
Your average rifle round. So average or even 9mm. You know, a 9mm will go through 10 sheets of plywood, or not, maybe not 10 sheets of plywood, probably about 6 sheets of plywood. I mean, not plywood. I'm sorry, drywall. So if you're thinking you're in your house and you're going to shoot down your hallway at a bad guy, if you miss, it's going to go through your neighbor's house too. It's not, I mean, our building code is soft. We are soft. Where everything over there is made of rock and dirt.
I remember when those frangible rounds came out that you guys had.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of testing done over there at 130, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were shooting through. They were stacking up just to see how much that 5.56 would actually go through versus the green tip. And the frangible rounds were actually smoking through more shit than the steel core penetrator shit. That first frangible they had was not breaking up or doing anything.
I don't know if that was because I played with that stuff too when I was there. I don't know if that was just because it was new. And when
I think they didn't have it dialed in.
When they designed it, they didn't really have the frangible part designed in right, because it would. Okay, why did we get frangible ammunition at range 130? We got frangible ammunition at range 130 because the goddamn everybody said no more MP5s. Let's carry CAR 15s. Well, none of the targetry and none of the buildings were set up for 5.56. They were all set up for shooting 9mm into, and so they needed a way to still be able to train inside those target houses without destroying them by shooting 5.56 into them. So that's where the frangible came from. Now, at a reasonable distance, the frangible would work. So if I shot a steel target at 100 yards, the frangible would do what it's supposed to do. It would blow up into a bunch of little dust. But because it was such a light projectile, and they were trying to match the current ammunition, so you wouldn't have a deviation, an aiming deviation from going from training ammo to real ammo. They had to increase the velocity, and so that little frangible bullet was hauling ass. Like, I took it, and we got just a 1/2-inch piece of armor plate, and at 10 yards, it shot right through it because the velocity, you know, there was nothing on the other side. Like, it blew completely into powder, but that velocity was so great that even though it was just powder, it went right through it. So I don't know if they ever fixed that.
So, they did. Yeah. When,
but nobody's going to use frangible.
Correct.
Nobody's going out and buying frangible because they're afraid about their neighbors getting shot. So
everybody, like, for what most dudes are concerned with, it's going to be battlefield pickup stuff. So they're going to use whoever's shooting at them is going to be using,
which will be M16s
or fucking 7.27 or whatever.
Or 6.8. The 6.8.
Whatever the Chinaman has.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
I got it.
Everybody. That's the other thing is everybody in the world is transitioning to, like, if you look at all the former Eastern Bloc countries, Lithuania or even Ukraine, their guns are all 5.56. So, if Ukrainian paratroopers jumped in to take over the United States, now, I mean, there's probably a good chance that those Ukrainian paratroopers are going to have M4 carbines strapped to their side.
I think even Russia has some of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. The United States is the biggest warmongers in the world, and so we make the best shit.
So when you ran out of ammo, did you have more loose rounds with you? Or
No. That's you have to keep. There is a trade-off with all that, right? The trade-off of you carry all this ammo, you think you assume you're never going to use it, but you also have to carry grenades, flares, smoke. You're fucking wearing at that time our OTV vet. They weren't OTVs. They were the new improved ones. But even that vest alone was 85 pounds.
That's something else I wanted to ask you. So everybody's running just plates now,
yeah, and
they've gone away from the soft armor. So what are they? Just front plate, rear plate, side plates, and there's no soft armor in between there anymore?
No.
So
because there's no again, it's the whole idea of the armor system that was developed, the Marine Corps spent tons of money on developing this armor system, was they made it modular. They made it modular so you could make a combat decision on what type of armor you're going to, what are you going to wear? Soft body armor, the soft body armor is cool, but it doesn't do anything against an AK-47, an RPK. It doesn't, it would greatly increase your survivability because of artillery. So if artillery goes off and you take shrapnel, that soft body armor is going to help you. If you're in a vehicle that gets hit by an IED, there's argument that soft body armor is going to help you. But in a gunfight, just a gunfight, the soft body armor isn't doing you any good. It's just added weight. But at that point, the commandant of the Marine Corps was like, I don't care, you will wear every piece of that fucking body armor because we bought it for you, so you're going to wear it. So we were wearing the full kit at that time. If you're in Afghanistan, the Afghanis got no artillery, and you're in the goddamn mountains. So the first Marines that went to Afghanistan got smoked. Not killed, they got smoked because they were wearing too much fucking weight. And it got to the point where the commandant had to fucking adjust it and say, hey, you can just wear plate carriers. Now, everybody is just wearing plate carriers. But we go full retard war. They're going to be wearing all that shit. Groin protectors, they're going to be wearing all that shit. Like I had one of my Marines that was with me in at Gannon. He went MARSOC. A lot of my Marines went MARSOC. He went to MARSOC. He was doing a fucking op in Afghanistan. They went to a village that they probably shouldn't have gone to. It was just 4 of them. They got overwhelmed with fire, and he's like, his team leader was like, we're going to go back the same way we came. We're going to go back the same way we came. And he told me later, he goes, man, all I kept thinking is what you would tell me. When he said that, I'm like, no, we can't go back the same way we came. We can't go back the same way we came. We got to go a different way. Let's go around. And he's like, no, it's faster if we just go straight back the way we came. And so they were going back the same way they came, jumped over a wall they had already gone over before getting there, fucking right on a fucking mine. Lost one of his legs, fucked up his other ankle.
Was the
pretty
mine
bad.
Was the mine there, or was it had freshly been
No,
placed?
they placed it because they knew they were going to. You take the chance that somebody's going to make that mistake, right? And hit that mine, lost his leg. But at that time, they were issuing underwear.
Yep.
It was
the trousers,
soft body armor. It looks like regular underwear, and that saved his junk.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, I was like, dude, that's bad. You got it bad. He's one of the only Marine. He's, 20 years in the Marine Corps. I've been very fortunate. He's the worst out of the Marines that I personally trained or I personally had connection with. He was the worst. Injured.
How fresh were the injuries when you saw him?
Well, I mean, I didn't see him. They were sending me videos from Bethesda because he went from Germany to blah blah blah, and so I had talked to him a couple times about it, and he's like, "Yeah, the fucking sergeant major's been here," and he's like, "We'll get you back on your feet and back out to MARSOC and blah." And I'm like, "Bro, I mean, I get where that motivation's coming from, but you might want to think about."
But he did it.
I'm like, you might want to think about that. That's not going to happen. That you are, you're fucked up. And I mean, I didn't say it in that such a derogatory term, but I was trying to get him to get his head around the fact that he might be a civilian soon. And that motherfucker got a peg leg and a peg foot and went back over to Afghanistan again.
Multiple deployments.
Well, yeah, multiple deployments. Like he did it. He fucking they took him over there. I think at that time I would say I was really proud of the Marine Corps in the fact that they kept severely injured Marines. They didn't separate them. They they rehabilitated him and put him back in the fight. That was probably the smartest thing.
Actually, really back in the fight, like still in the fight.
That's probably the smartest thing that the Marine Corps ever did as far as taking care of wounded warriors, because that's the biggest problem with wounded warriors is once you go down that pipeline of the medical, on the medical side and your injury and rehabilitation, you want to be useful again. You don't want to be cast aside. And that's what we used to do is when a guy was, you lose a leg, we're sorry, you're not a force multiplier, and we're casting those guys aside. But at that period in time, the Marine Corps was, I don't know if the Army was doing it or not. I'm sure the Army must have been doing the same shit.
The Navy
but at that time they were keeping guys, which is, I gotta, you got to be proud of the Marine Corps for doing that, because those guys would have otherwise been, a serious suicide watch or whatever. Because it's just, it's depressing. Yeah. It's depressing to be a hero one day and a zero the next day. And that's how usually that's how the military treats you. As soon as they are done with you, you don't exist.
Well, yeah, you're in the VA system, which might as well not be.
Yeah, and I'm not even just talking about being injured. You could be a fucking rock star in the, you could be the rock star Navy SEAL or Force Recon guy or fucking whatever. And when that retirement date hits, as far as the Marine Corps is concerned, you don't even exist anymore. The only reason why, I'll use Navy SEALs because they're pretty good at this. The only reason why you don't go out and choke down a gun is because you have a good SEAL team community outside of the Navy. As far as the Navy's concerned, whatever, you're fucking retired, but there's such a good community outside that it makes it a little bit easier to make that transition. Where, if you're from, Baker Company 1-7 and you end your career, whether that's at 20 years or 4 years, Marine Corps ain't even sending you a fucking birthday card. They don't give two shits about you. They don't care really. So it's just those relationships you make while you're in there.
So when you ran out of
ammo and had to pull that fucking lame Beretta 19, that fucking Beretta out with my 15 round magazine that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work. Just depended.
Nowadays they'd pull out a Glock.
And that was after, again, that was after ammo consolidation. The only reason why I left that position, the only reason why at sunset I left that position and moved to the other squad is because after ammo consolidation, we didn't have any ammo.
So
nobody did.
So all your kids fired all your troops?
I mean, everybody still, there was like,
Did you have any guys that didn't shoot?
No. Well, I did have one guy that didn't shoot.
What do you do with that guy?
Here's the thing. I didn't know. I didn't. So,
how did you find out?
I didn't find out until we got back with the other squad. So, remember when I told you I had to go find that ammo, the 7.62 ammo, the can of ammo? They had 2 cans in a war bag. Well, all our bags were in that center building. Okay, so I got to go and get that ammo for the 240 Golf. And it's a small room. It's probably 10 by 10. There were some desks in there. There was, mostly it was our packs just around the outside wall or inside wall. And so I'm searching for, again, mind you, I'm searching for 2 7.62 cans of ammo. So they're relatively small. Not huge, right? They're relatively small. So I'm really looking in this room for this ammo. Find the ammo, take it, give it to the gunners. And that's when the air assets come in and all that stuff happens. And night comes, we break down. Now, the thing I didn't mention is I am not in charge of this squad or this section. The fire team leader, like when I would go, anytime I went out, because again, remember, this is only a reinforced fire team. That is not, a staff sergeant's not in charge of a reinforced fire team. I would go out with anytime a squad left the wire, I would go out with them. I would tell them, you were in charge. This is your patrol. I'm not going to intervene. do what you want to do. Handle it the way you want to handle it. If some shit happens, I'm here. I'm here basically because the CO doesn't want to talk to a Lance Corporal. He wants to talk to somebody that he thinks is more trustworthy or whatever. He wants to talk to a staff sergeant. So that's the only reason why I was there. So the makeup of that section, it was a 240 Gulf, small section, and a fire team. So basically Porter, the fire team leader, he was kind of in charge of the movement. I said, okay, get your guys together. We're getting the fuck out of here. We're going. We did ammo consolidation. At that point, there wasn't enough ammo left. Everybody was out of ammo. 240 Gulf was dry. Everybody had like maybe 1 or 2 M16 mags, but outside of that, we were done. All the grenades were gone. Everything was gone. And so I'm like, okay, we have to get out of here because if they push at night, I am not fighting these dudes with this fucking stupid pistol. So I tell Porter, hey, as soon as it calms down, or as soon as they stop shooting and we have a window, we're going to book to the other squad.
How far is the other squad?
They're 3 blocks away. Not far at all. We're going to go to the other squad. We're going to link up with them, and then that'll be our defensive position. So Porter gets everybody together. They do their count and shit. It's just dusk. So it's not dark yet, but it's dusk, and we move. No resistance. We're able to get right on out there, no problem. Hook up with Mata, Corporal Mata, crazy Mata. We hook up with Mata and his squad, and immediately when we get there, some shit starts happening. It's fog of war shit, and it was bad. It was not real combat shit. It was fog of war shit that was going on.
What's that mean?
That means it was good guys shooting at what they thought was bad guys, which weren't really bad guys, and then they started shooting at more good guys because they were a fucking soup sandwich. And they were very lucky that a grenade didn't roll into their fucking hooch after some of the fucking shit they pulled. But anyways, so we link up. Some shit's going on. The CO's trying to get a hold of me, or he's talking to me. He wants to know what's going on. I'm trying to explain to him that these guys are fucking up. Not 1-7 proper. This was an outside unit that was doing this shit.
Got it.
Firing on an ambulance, stupid shit like that. So when I come up the stairs to get on the roof, there's a dude sitting at the top of the stairs, full fetal position, knees up to his chest, kind of rocking back and forth. Marine. And so I'm like, what the fuck?
Concussion or
blast
or
I'm like, what the fuck? So I go over to Mata. And I go, Mata, what happened to that guy? Because I figured Mata was hazing him or something. Boot. Hey, you're going to get hazed in the combat zone. I go, what happened to that guy? What the fuck is going on with him? And Mata looks at me and he goes, I don't know, Staff Sergeant. He was with you. I go, that kid was not with me. There's no fucking way he was with me. Bullshit. And Porter comes up and I'm like, where the fuck did he come from? And he goes, oh, Staff Sergeant, that he was hiding in that room the whole time. He was hiding in that room the whole time we were in the fight. And I'm like, I searched that room. I did not fucking find him. Where was he? He's like, he had taken a desk, and you know how you got your foot space in the desk, and had pushed it against the wall, so he was hiding in that space, so you couldn't, because that far side is closed off.
Was he intentionally trying not to fight, or was he worried about getting overrun? Like, what was his...
I think he was just scared. Just
froze up.
And just froze up. And I would have fixed it if I would have known. Like, I would have taken him and put him on the wall and been like, shoot your gun. I don't know what you're scared about. I would have fixed it if I'd have known, but I didn't know he was hiding the whole time. I didn't know he was there. I mean, because I had a kid. When I was down on the radio and we're getting ready to call those F-18s in, this kid, the Ricochet, because again, everything's rocks. So ricochet, hits the wall, gets his face sliced open. Doc's down with me. So Campbell sends him down to me. He's like, hey, he's fucking wounded. Send him down to me. Comes down. And he's like, because you don't realize this, but you can't see your face. And when something hits you in the face, you don't know, is my ear still there or what's going on? So he can't see it. He just knows he was hit. And so they send him down, and Doc's standing next to me. He runs right to me. He's like, Staff Sergeant, they shot me in the face. And I go, I'm looking at him, and I take my hand, and again, I'm wearing flight gloves. I take my hand, and I just smear his face like this. And I'm like, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And he looks at me, and he goes, it's not bad? And I go, no, it's not bad at all. You're okay. And he goes, okay. I'm okay? You say I'm okay? I go, yeah. At this point, Doc has not done nothing. Doc is just looking, and I've just smeared blood all down the side of this kid's face. And I'm like, you're okay. Because it was superficial. Like it cut him pretty good, but in the face you bleed really well. But I'm like, yeah, you're good. I don't even think they're going to give you stitches. You're good. And he goes, okay. I go, because I could see the look on his face like, hey, I almost died. And so I say, hey, if you want to sit here with me while we do this thing, you can stay here. And the kid looked me right in the face and he goes, you say I'm okay. And I go, yeah, you're okay. He goes, oh no, then I'm going to go back up, and went back up in the fight. So anyways, so I don't know where I was going with that, except that the fact that, you have some kids that don't want to shoot. And, I had another incident where I had a saw gunner who wouldn't fucking shoot his gun. You just have to kind of,
because they're worried about getting shot back, or is that because they don't want to harm other people?
I think that there's just there's a lot of reasons, and fear is a paralyzer. And if you allow it to if you allow it to take hold, it's very hard to shake that monkey unless somebody does it for you. Because again, I think if I would have grabbed that kid, took him out to the wall, and just been like, dude, I don't even care what you shoot at, just shoot your gun. If he'd have shot his rifle a couple times and realized that he wasn't dying, that he would have been fine, that he would have continued on.
Do you think these kids didn't play BB gun wars as kids?
No. People don't do that anymore, John. They don't do the kid. You don't understand. The kids that are in the military now, they lived a very soft existence, and that's why the military has had to soften things up. They're not. The days of a sniper class and you asking how many people shot guns before they went in the military and everybody raising their hand are over. Most people that join the military, the only guns they've shot are on Call of Duty. So it's not the same. We've made America too safe and too soft. Just from a military perspective.
So how do you get back to base and you find out you've got a kid that hasn't fired any rounds? How do you find that out? Like, with just you're turning your shit back in to the armory, or? Oh, no. I mean, when you are in the engagement, you know who's not shooting,
who's part of the fight, and who's not part of the fight. Like, again, the saw gunner, when the thing happened, I was directing 2 saws to fire at a specific target, and one saw gunner was winning the championship of how much ammo I can get out in the next 2 seconds. And the other guy was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So, I mean, when it happens, I mean, even in Somalia, I had a recon guy, he wasn't recon at the time. He was a sniper. And, I think it was the first Gulf War, or it may have been Somalia. Anyways, he was a sniper, and when it came time to do the deed, he's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not shooting these people. And then he,
like, conscientious objector kind of shit.
I don't know if it was conscientious objector or just, there's a little bit of a hurdle when you go to kill when you go to kill somebody, and it's a big
first time.
Yeah, and it's a big hurdle when you're doing it through a sniper rifle, because
you're looking at them.
Well, it's not just that you're looking at them. It's if I'm firing my M4, right? If I'm shooting my M16, if I'm in the infantry and I'm shooting my M16, most of the time, when you're in the infantry, you don't even know what you're shooting at. You're just shooting. And all the time, almost all the time, when you're in the infantry and you're shooting your rifle to defend yourself, you're defending yourself. If I don't shoot you, you're going to shoot me and I'm going to die. When you're using a sniper rifle, the difference is if I have done my job correctly, then you have no clue that you're about to die, right? You have no clue that I have my rifle on you. I'm watching you make your breakfast. You know, you just sat down with your fucking egg sandwich and you're getting ready to eat it. It's my job to fucking shoot you. So you are not in an offensive, you're not offensively threatening to me in any way because if I've done my job correct, right? If I've done my job correct, you're not offensively threatening to me in any way. That's a different thing. That's a different thing than if all three of us pull out guns right now and start blazing away. Because at the point you're at like, okay, I have to do this or I'm going to die. Where in the sniper world, if you've done your job correctly, you're in no danger.
If you took somebody who's been a sniper,
yeah,
and put them in normal combat, are they going to hit target more often?
Are they going to hit target more often? I mean, again,
or is it once those bullets start going, we're just dumping them?
I would say that the experienced marksman or sniper is going to be more precise with the shots they are firing. But again, when you're at the platoon level, it's about volume of fire. It's not about it has never. I know they're trying to do it now. I know they're trying to putting the ACOGs on all the rifle systems has definitely increased hit probability, right? But you don't need an infantry battalion if you're hitting everything that you shoot at. It's about volume of fire. And sometimes, just the volume of fire is enough to get the enemy to quit.
Does the optic make a huge difference?
Oh, optic is king of the battlefield.
Do you think we're going to see a point where there's not iron sights on rifles anymore?
I don't know. I don't know if the military would ever.
Like the other day, Austin was saying something about, I don't even remember what the conversation was, but I think it's up public. I think I remember, I seem to recall listening to it again. And he said something, he's like, I know I want an ACOG, but I want to be more proficient with my iron sights. And I go, why? Like, just shoot more, right? You're here, take some classes, whatever, go out back and bring your rifle. And he's like, I just feel like I haven't earned it. But if it makes you fucking better, I mean, put that motherfucker on. How many rounds have you not shot with iron sights? You're not training anyways.
Okay, I would say from a military perspective, the iron sight, being able to have a backup to an optical system is a good idea because of the environment that weapon system is being operated in. Meaning, guys are falling off roofs, they're dropping their guns on the ground. It's a hazardous environment, right? And so, while there were very few at the time. Now these ACOGs were brand new when I was in. They're approaching 10 or 15 years old.
You guys had ACOGs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we went over, we were the first battalion that was fully outfitted with ACOGs.
Did you have like the little one, or you had like the full blown with the fiber optic?
Full blown with fiber optic. Okay. Yeah. 4 power.
Amber reticles or red or?
Red triangles.
Okay.
So.
Because those Navy ones had like the
trees. There's a ton of different ones, but now there are just 2. There's an A4 and an M4, and so they're ballistically compatible to the M4, ballistically compatible to the A4, which is the full 20-inch gun, which is what I had.
Does anybody have a full 20-inch gun anymore?
I don't. I think the biggest rifle that they're using now is the M27, which is the HK gun, and I think that's 16 inches. So again, I don't know where we were going. We've talked about 15 different things. I got to tell you the Campbell story with that though, because it's part of that event, and it was the most hilarious thing. Again, I've seen a lot of things in combat that, man, I envy the kids that are I envy the kids that are in the military now, because you could technically record every single event.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's some events.
And everybody out there has a fucking phone.
Yeah,
like, before they go out, do you think they're like, give me your phone?
Yes, they do that. But here's the thing. The problem is the military is not very good at it. So there's always somebody that's recording something. I saw a video the
other day of a chick with a drill sergeant, right? At basic training, right? Mm-hmm. On the numbers and shit. And she's back talking the drill instructor, and somebody's filming this. And while they're filming it, there's another fucking recruit on his fucking cell phone.
What I think, without perspective, what I think that was, I don't think it was what we think it is.
It's not boot camp. It was like
no. I think it was. I think it was boot camp. But okay, so in the middle of boot camp, you're doing your thing. You've had these 5 drill instructors. It was just like Full Metal Jacket, except there was 5 of them yelling at you and screaming at you and getting you to do exactly what you want to do.
Except they don't touch you now.
Yeah, now they can't do anything. I don't even want to know what it's like down at MCRD now. And so they would do these things. They would do this thing called Shark Attack, where they would march a regular platoon of recruits out, and then they would bring the drill instructors from DI school. So they haven't graduated yet, but they're getting ready to be drill instructors. And so they would bring those drill instructors over, and they would be like, hey, drill instructors, fuck up these recruits. And so they would come over and just be like, doing all their the craziness, right? They would come and yell at you and correct you and all that. And it was, as a recruit, you didn't know this. You just thought, okay, they just brought over 10 more drill instructors to fuck us up because that's what they do. But there's actually a senior drill instructor, or I can't remember what they called those guys. But they were being evaluated on how they manipulated the recruits to get to do what they needed to do. And so they would be evaluated. So without proper perspective, what I think is that was a junior drill instructor. So a drill instructor that was either brand new or had not graduated.
So you think they set him up? And
they set him up.
That's on purpose?
Because
let's hope. That's
the only feasible reason why I would think that you would have 2 perspectives with phones.
Let's fucking hope that's what it was.
Wait, Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell.
So this is the Huey. Remember, I told you we had a Huey, and the Huey had a gal. It had a gal minigun on it, and
5.56,
7.62.
Is there a 50 cal minigun?
There is a 50 cal minigun now, but I don't know if we use them on an aircraft. Dylan Precision, I think, is the one who created it.
So the SEALs had a 50 cal on their Blackhawks, and I remember I was literally right under that fucking thing. And when the 7.62 gun went off, it was impressive. But when the 50 cal gun went off, it was a fucking complete different thing. Like the just coming through your body. So I thought that was a minigun. I don't think it was the M2 they were shooting out of the Blackhawks then. I thought that was a minigun then. And that was even like with blanks. I think the
minigun is a minigun, and 50 cal is relatively new.
Okay.
So we have a Huey helicopter from the MEU on station with that Cobra. They were flying together, and the Cobra helicopter comes in, and the Cobra helicopter is like, it's like a professional, like they're professional. Cobra helicopter pilots are professional. They come in and they line up their target, and they did fire a tow missile at the school for us. And so I move to the most outside edge of our perimeter, to the small wall that's circling the whole building. And I tell Campbell, I'm like, Campbell, you need to come up here. This is going to be bitching. The Cobra's going to come in and hose down the school for us. And so we get up close. Now, again, bad guys are still shooting at us. So the wall that we're hiding behind is still getting hit. And I would be like, okay, Campbell, you get up, take a picture. And then he would duck down, and then I would we're on opposite sides, and then I would get up, and they'd start shooting at me, and then it was just this really dumb game that we were playing. But because the Cobra was coming in. And so the Cobra comes in, and again, the Cobra pilots are professionals. They come in on the heading they were supposed to come in on. They fire the missile that they said they were going to fire. They hit the target they said they were going to fire. They shoot the minigun a little bit. They're like, "Hey, minigun, is that okay? Was that good? You need me to shoot some more? No? Oh, okay, we're going to fly." They fly away. Well, we are still taking rounds from the mosque and behind the rubble of the damn computer center, and we're still taking fire. So the Huey's like, "Hey, guys, we're on station. We'd love to come down there and fire the minigun." And so we're like, "Hey, bring it."
And they literally said
bring it. Now, mind you.
And you're not having to talk to a FAC at this point.
We're on a brick wall. We're on a brick wall on the side of the road. The road runs this way, right in front of us. So that's where your traffic is going, right in front of us. The Cobra did what he was supposed to do. He flew, so if this is the road, he flew this way, fired this way, and we're over here. We're good. We're not in. There's no probability that he's going to shoot us, and then he flies away because the Cobra guys are professionals. The Huey guys, on the other hand, Huey's.
Whose pilot was the Huey guy?
He's a Marine. He's a Marine from the MEU. But Huey pilots are cowboys.
And we're talking Huey like A-Team Huey.
Yeah, like A-Team.
Old.
An old. I believe. Yeah, I think it was still a two. I think it was still a two-blader. It might have been a four. No, I don't think it was a four-blader.
But like those ones we see for sale that we're going to make a treehouse out of.
Yes. Okay. So Huey with a minigun on the side of it. These guys, they fly way down the road. So they're 200 yards.
They're going to shoot up the whole road.
They're 200 yards away from where we're at. They fly way down the road. And then he does that Huey helicopter thing where he comes up and turns.
Knocks his
and now is flying. He's flying right down the road. Like he's flying down the road at kind of I would say a low altitude. And he is arced just a little bit. So he's flying a little sideways,
yeah,
right?
I hope he got a photo.
And that kid on the minigun, that probably, I'll bet he was a fucking corporal. That corporal on the minigun. Now, he's slow enough that I can see all this happening in real time. And I'm like, Campbell, get down. That corporal has got a smile. His smile is really touching his ears. He's smiling ear to ear, and he is on this minigun, and he's just going like this. As he flies down the road right towards us, just fucking hoses everything down.
Hits your side of the road, too?
Oh, yeah, hits everything. It's a minigun. He hits everything. And then just flies away with a I think the pilot threw a tissue out the window that said thank you. And then they flew away.
So when you guys stand up, are you like standing in like rock dust? And
yeah, it's just dust. It's just dust.
Bullet holes everywhere.
Bullet holes everywhere. I'm sure that the Cobra pilots were frowning. They were like, fucking Hueys. But yeah, it was, I mean, again, there was a lot of things that happened. There's a lot of things that happened in combat.
So what did Campbell say?
It's the coolest shit he's ever seen.
Even though it was being shot at him?
Coolest shit he's ever seen, yeah.
All right, we got a few more. Let's
answer those questions.
Knock these out.
Because we got some gun porn to do.
You got some gun porn to do. We will record the podcast today. Ask questions. What was the best time you had during your time in the service? This is from John Witherspoon.
John Witherspoon. I wouldn't have changed any of it. Every bit of it was good. The first 13 years were the best. First 13 years were the best, and then the last 4 years. So.
Because that's when you were with special ops, kind of, or
well, the first 4 years was all the Chris Hayes 1-9
school and
doing the doing all the MUSOC training and all the true stuff up in Los Angeles or San Francisco. The first 13 years that was a Marine Corps. That Marine Corps that I was in back then, I would have put up against any army in the world.
And then the last 4 because it was.
The last 4 was because of combat. Having the rifle platoon, I think, I spent most of my career with the snipers, but then I had the first tour over there with the rifle platoon and getting that perspective. Because like when you're a platoon sergeant for a sniper platoon, all the snipers are like, yeah, fuck you, staff sergeant. We're gonna do what we want to do. because we snipers. But when you're a platoon sergeant of a rifle platoon, those kids just want to jump. They want to jump. They want to show you they can do tricks. A rifle platoon is, I mean, it's a great experience.
What would you rather have here if you had to operate in this country?
Oh, to fight? A fucking rifle platoon.
Over a sniper
Oh,
platoon?
yeah, easy. Rifle platoon over sniper platoon. Again, because, you know, there's the truth of the matter with snipers is there's a bit of an arrogance there. There's an arrogance, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have it. They should have that arrogance because of the job they have to do. But there's a bit of an arrogance and a bit of autopilot that goes on with the fucking sniper platoon. They don't need your help like a rifle platoon does. A rifle platoon, you know, if I say, hey, you know, you're going to fight and die with what you carry in your back, the guys in the rifle platoon will be like, are you telling me I can carry more bullets? Because I'll carry more bullets. You know, in a sniper platoon, they'll be like, we'll see when we see. You know, there's a bit of an arrogance there, which is good because of the type of mission they have to do. You know, if you're doing real sniper operations where it's a 2-man team going out, you got to be a little bit arrogant to do that mission. So I don't fault them for it, but you know, a rifle platoon is just a better animal to lead.
Okay, and then Max Lozana says, "I'd like to hear Scully's L.A. riot story." I think that's going to be another.
That'll be
time.
a full. That's a.
Okay, so one more here that I had actually skipped. Michael Keith, guys, these questions are from Patreon. So it's $5 a month to join Patreon, and that's where all these questions came from. I thought we were going to rip through this for like 10 minutes and then do a podcast. This has actually become the podcast here. Survival question. If vehicle transportation wasn't an option to get to a bug-out location, what percentage of people in America do you think would either be smart enough to find an alternative, like a bike, for example? How many do you think would try walking and fail miserably due to other factors, i.e. physical fitness, overpacking bug-out bags, not avoiding crowds, and being robbed by others? In my opinion, I feel a lot of people try to do the right thing and make preparations, but fail to see the big picture. Your thoughts?
The problem is when we talk about, you know, bugging out or any of that stuff, what is the big picture? Why are we
James
bugging
used to always
out?
say you don't get to plan your gunfight.
Yeah. Why are we bugging out? Where are we going? The scenario is so broad and so big that
Fluid.
you can't, if you think that your bug out plan is a bicycle, for instance, whatever happens, the bicycle's not going to be the thing. If you think your bug out van or the van that you've put all your supplies in is going to be the thing, whatever happens, it's not going to be the thing. You have to be fluid. I talk about how the Marine Corps is. The Marine Corps is terrible at planning, and because they're terrible at planning, you end up having to be very flexible in what you do. And so as Marines at all levels, you kind of learn how to be flexible and move with the fight or move with whatever the task is in order to accomplish the mission. You know, the Marine Corps says the most important thing is accomplish the mission. They never say, well, I'm sure they do now because they're micromanaging everybody, but they never would say, this is how you have to accomplish the mission. No, the Marine Corps says accomplish the mission. And if you have to go A to Z to L to R to B, if the mission gets accomplished, then the Marine Corps is like, good to go. We don't want to know about all that other bullshit that happened. As long as the mission gets accomplishment. That's how it used to be. I don't know what they do now. They're trying to emulate the Army, which is a terrible idea. So you have to be flexible in your plan. Your plan has to have flexibility. If it doesn't, then it's not going to work. You know, if you're planning for an EMP, it's not going to be an EMP. If you're planning for aliens, it's not going to be aliens. It's going to be something completely different. So ideally, you have to structure whatever it is around a core idea, right? Give yourself a core idea and make it as flexible as possible. So I'll give you an example. Way back when I was still living in Temecula, so what's it been, 10 years? way back when I was still in Temecula and while I was still in the Marine Corps. So it's been longer than 10 years. I believed that the biggest threat that we had at the time was a biological weapon release or a flu outbreak. Back then, I thought influenza was going to be our biggest problem. So a virus. Now, I tailored my thing around 90 days. I said, okay, a virus will burn through in about 90 days. So I need to be able to sit and do nothing in this house for 90 days, not have to go anywhere. And if I had to go anywhere, I had to have the capability to go somewhere where I would be protected from said virus, because that I thought was the biggest threat. Turns out I was probably right, but I didn't need any of the things that I had prepared for in Temecula to survive the virus that was released a couple years ago, right? You didn't need a mop suit, you didn't need all that stuff, but it's better to be prepared than not prepared. But you have to have the flexibility. Now, like I say now, I know some people, and those people are like, hey, if the world ends, you should come to my house. I'm like, nope. I'm not leaving. I've got what I've got, and I got it where I want it, and it's there. I'm not leaving.
But you're in a much better position now.
I'm in a much better position now. But again, I'm talking from a scenario that I have already made the decision that I'm going to fight and die where I live. I'm not going to bug out because I won't, at that point, I won't care. Now, does that mean if
tornado or fire,
I'm not worried about a tornado because of the type of house I have. Fire, I do kind of worry about the fire a little bit, but again, I'm pretty
drone strike.
I'm pretty clear pasteurized. I'm pretty clear. But again, drone strike, if the United States government decides they want to drop a fucking tow missile on me, or that new sword of Gideon that they have, if they want to drop that on me, it's not going to matter how I prep for that. You're fucked. Again, that's the Eye of Sauron. If the Eye of Sauron, your federal government, Joe Biden, if he puts his eyes on you, I don't care if you read the Bible 10 times a week, go to church 20 times a week. They are going to corrupt your computer with whatever they need to put you in jail and make you look like the most international criminal. There's nothing you can do about it anymore. If the Eye of Sauron gets on you, it gets on you. So it's not going to matter if you have a bike, a fucking Ferrari, a airplane, they're going to get you.
But so Iridium Solutions said, whatever disaster you're prepared for, that's never the disaster.
Yeah, it's never the disaster you're going to face. That's why I say the key is flexibility.
Practice, right? Start off with the truck. Hopefully the truck runs and we can find alternative routes. And then it's going to steal a bicycle until you fall in the culvert and bend your wheel, and then you're probably not on the bicycle. So steal a horse. I mean,
you can be somewhat predictable. Like you can be predictable. Like for example, where we live.
I'll be right back.
Every year we have fucking tornadoes come through here. Every year we have a situation where our house could get wiped off the face of the planet. That is a natural disaster that is common in your area that you could prepare for. I could prepare for those things. There's certain things that I could do that would make my life a whole lot easier if my house blew away. So you can prepare for that type of disaster. You live in California and you're not preparing for an earthquake, you're dumb, because that's what happens in California. You kind of have to tailor it to your location and what the probability is. If aliens land or the government decides they're going to round up all the Republicans, or I don't know, mad cow disease and the cows are attacking everybody, you can't really prepare for that. You can't really be prepared for what's going to happen in that type of scenario. Just be prepared. Just prepare yourself for the localized events that could possibly happen, and then have good community. Because without good community, it doesn't matter. Like if your plan is to poo-poo everybody on the trail of survival, then you're going to die alone in the woods. Whether you got a bicycle, a car, a house, you're going to die alone in the woods. You need to have community. Meaning, if you're on your electric bike with all your supplies in the trailer, and you're going down the road, and there's 10 people, and they're dragging mattresses and gas cans and all kinds of shit, and you're like, fuck those people. They should have got ready before, and you just cruise on by. You aren't going to make it. You're not going to make it. Community is the only way you're going to make it. You got to have community. And if you're not willing to help those people who, for whatever reason, whether it was ignorance or they just didn't know, can't help themselves, you ain't going to make it.
I'm going to go a little different. If we're trapped in Nashville and I have to angry American my way home, right? Going home series. We have communication with him. We think he's coming out to Self-Reliance Festival. And it's me, and I'm trying to get home to Amanda and the kids, and I've got a backpack on my back, and I've got 3 broken down MREs. I'm not helping the guys dragging the mattress. I'm gonna be in the bushes, and I'm gonna try to avoid all contact until I get home.
Different scenario.
Got it. I don't know the scenario.
Yeah, different scenario. But I mean, if you got to fight your way out of downtown Memphis, you got to fight your way out of downtown Memphis.
And ideally,
but if you're on the
don't fight, right? Fucking be as concealed as you can. If you got to move slow, you got to move low, whatever it is. Try to not make contact. Once you get that first poke in your body, you're going to have an infection. I mean, you're not making it home at that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it. I mean, what I'm saying is, if you're in the survival world right now,
have your people in place,
and you're making fun of other people in the survival world because their idea doesn't jive with your idea, that's not the way to be. You know, like the gun community. The gun community is being attacked on all sides,
by everyone.
and yet we still bicker about which caliber is the best caliber.
Everybody's waiting for the government to come get them.
Who cares?
The government, you know why the government's going to come get these guys? Because you motherfuckers are going to tell on them.
Yeah, I don't care if you show up with a 380. Matter of fact, I don't care if you show up with a 22.
Or the noisy cricket. Pew,
or
pew.
the noisy cricket. You know, have a gun. That's the first challenge, and then maybe we can get you comfortable with something else.
If you can't have that, have a fucking bow, have a stick, have something. A shovel.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of everybody poo-pooing each other because they don't like what they're bugging out for. Because you don't know what your disaster is going to be. You don't know that currently the federal government is buying up banks like it's cool.
Just another one just last week.
They're buying up banks like it's cool. Now they're using your money to buy those banks up. What they're going to do is they're going to allow all the banks to fail. And they're going to buy up all the banks so that the federal government owns everything. And then all your banking will have to go through the federal government. It's what they're doing. It's why they're allowing these banks to fail and you guys not paying attention to the trillions and trillions of dollars that they're giving their rich friends in order to do this payoff, in order to switch over to a digital currency that they can track and you can't do shit with. You know, I was just thinking about this though, John, because I watched these videos about the guy, you know, we talked about it last week, guy that drives around these towns and videos all the terrible neighborhoods.
Yeah, several of them.
If they go to a digital currency, the thing I think you have to look for, the thing we have to look for and find out immediately is how prostitution works. Because there's always going to be prostitution, so there's going to be a way that they're going to make that financial transaction on the street. Not, you know, I'm not talking about them high class call girls I'm talking about the street girls.
Bitcoin will do it. How
they are going to be making those legal transactions.
I think people still use cash.
I mean, I hope they do. I hope that the federal government comes out and says,
gold, silver, bullets.
Hey, motherfuckers, you got to use our digital currency, and everybody says, fuck off.
Yeah, no, I rebuke you.
I hope they do. I hope somebody makes Hillary greenbacks.
Or
bluebacks. I think they were bluebacks.
Something I just popped back in my head when you said flip flops, fighting guys with flip flops.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Idiocracy?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the shoes in Idiocracy?
I don't remember seeing the shoes.
How this was the new thing, and when everybody looked at those 15 years ago, we're like, that is the stupidest shit in the world, right? Because the whole movie was, right?
Right, yeah.
They were Crocs.
Were they Crocs?
They were Crocs.
Oh, makes sense.
And now it's
it makes sense.
All these retards wearing Crocs. Oh, can we say that? Retards.
If they're wearing Crocs, yes.
Remember the kid we had show up here in Crocs? And he's like, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. And the first thing he did, he wasn't outside 5 minutes and stepped on a nail.
Yeah, you can't.
With your fucking Barney foam shoes.
You know, Crocs are for
your foam finger shoes.
They're for nurses. They're for
dudes who've never seen a vagina in real life.
No, they're for nurses, and you can have Crocs, but the only time you're allowed to wear them is when you have to take the trash out and run across the gravel real quick and come back. That's it.
Or when you're sitting when you're getting a prostate check, I think you could probably wear Crocs. I picture a medical gown.
I don't think
you're bent over a table and somebody's about to put their finger in your butthole. That's when you should.
Well,
I feel like guys that wear Crocs, they like strangers' fingers.
I feel like you're looking under the table and the doctor's standing behind you with the Crocs on. And he doesn't even have the 4-wheel drive straps on. The straps are up forward.
Have you seen the truck nuts and the LED lights for them and shit? Yeah. All right, guys. I know.
That was long.
I think that's the end. Michael, man. Listen, have a plan. Whatever that plan is, and like Lance said, plan your dive your plan, and you gotta try it, right? If you've got this bag in your truck all this time, and your plan is I'm 30 minutes from home in the office, and EMP goes off, my truck doesn't work, maybe you should take a weekend and try that 30-mile walk, right? And see what that looks like, and try to do it without being on the roadway, right? Because that's where people take the path of least resistance. That's how we trap animals. And that's where they are. Now, the smarter predators, they're going to be in the bushes where you are, right? So, I mean, just take it during the day and try to ride that motherfucker with a bicycle and see what that looks like. And then do it on foot. And then, is there a waterway? How do I cross the waterway? What if the waterway is frozen? What does that look like? I mean, try it in just try that shit, right? So many people are like, this is what we're going to do when the power goes out, but they've never turned the circuit breaker off on their house.
Yeah.
And then we walk around with these backpacks. Like, what really opened my eyes is we had a survival class at Tactical Response, and Cody and some of the kids were going to take this class. And I did not. I was there. Wetsuit taught it. Russ Kalkman taught this class, Wetsuit Survival. And he's like, okay, everybody go to the trucks and get your bags, right? And everybody had backpacks and rifles and all kinds of shit. And he's like, okay, put it in the corner. None of that shit's coming. You're only bringing what's in your pockets. And they did. They walked the fuck out of there with what was in their pockets. And there wasn't much in their pockets. And nobody was cold, and nobody starved, and nobody froze, and they didn't use any of that shit. We carry so much shit around in our packs. And when you actually go out, you don't use most of that shit. You can whittle that down, right? Bushcraft. When you look at Dave Canterbury, what he's doing, and he goes out there and builds that stuff. Or, Dean, my buddy Dino, Art by Dino, and Survival Tips and other stuff. Like, you could put that motherfucker out in the woods, and I'm like, I feel like I could drop you in the middle of nowhere and come back in 6 months, and you like have children and shit. Like, you just fucking created a civilization. He's like, yeah, I need 2 rocks. I'm going to use one rock to break the other rock, and I'm going to use that to build a hatchet head, and I'm going to use that to chop down some wood, and I'm going to use that to make cordage with. And that, like, it's just mindset and application. And if you look at it and just try it, you would be surprised at what we don't need. The other things just make it easier, and a lot of it's a crutch too. But if you're 100 pounds overweight, you ain't walking 30 miles home. It's not fucking happening.
Not far, anyways.
Nope, not fast.
Bring extra meal.
If you're 100 pounds overweight, you ain't even getting in a drain.
Yeah,
as a kid, I used to be able to get in the drains in the sidewalk. I'm pretty confident I still can. I haven't tried it, but I could get down there and get in the storm system just from a fucking gutter drain.
Oh, goddamn gutter drains in Camden?
There's not. We don't even have sidewalks in Camden. But that's what I'm saying, right?
You're going to have to go back to California. You want to get in the gutter drain.
Fitness is free. We all want to buy some shit and think we're good because we bought some shit.
You know what I saw the other day, though, that is not going to make you happy? you know how they. We'll talk about it later. When I joined the Marine Corps, there were still Vietnam vets. You know, master gunnery sergeants and sergeant majors are still Vietnam vets, and we had this crazy master sergeant who, I don't know, for whatever reason, he would just come over and growl at the snipers every now and then. He'd just be like, "Meh, Vietnam, meh," and he would be like, "Fight and die with whatever's on you," right? And we'd be like, you know, we're in formation, and he'd pull his hat off, and he'd have in the old Marine Corps hats, it was squared inside, and so there was kind of like a pocket there, and he would pull his hat off, and he'd have fucking razor blades in there, and he'd be like, "Nobody's taking me prisoner," and then he would. Like we'd be doing PT or something, and it was the thing where you would like to try and catch him. You'd be like, "Ha ha, POW." He'd be like, "Bullshit, I got my garrote right here." He'd pull it out of his fucking pants and shit, and he was so his thing was,
that's some Ed Calderon kind of shit.
His thing was, you have to tailor your uniform to a certain extent so that you can continue the fight no matter what happens.
Handcuff, and so keys, hacksaw.
So the pistol, like nobody does it anymore, but the pistol was on your trouser belt. It was connected to your trouser belt, not anywhere else.
So if you dumped all your shit or got in the water, you still had a pistol.
If you had to dump your fucking gear, you still had your pistol. Your knife,
first, second, and third line,
was on your belt. You had a survival kit that was in your blouse.
Every time we went out in the, just even hiking, I had on a fucking blue water rappel harness. Always.
You just wore it?
Always, yeah. If I put on BDUs, I had on a fucking a rappel harness.
Interesting.
You didn't?
Nope, never. What
happened when you had to go off a building or a bridge or something?
Because I was military savvy, and I had my piece of, I think it's
tubular nylon.
16-foot,
so
green,
you made your Swiss
green rope to make
seat.
the Swiss harness out of it.
But mine's so much more comfortable.
Yeah, but you were going for comfort. I'm going for Vietnam authentic.
If a flash flood ripped me out in the river and I needed to be rescued, I had my harness on.
Yeah, well, I had my.
But you had to put it on once you were in the flood.
But again, so I have rope, so I could just make a lasso.
Okay.
And
do you remember Overland Expo? Remember when we went to?
Yeah.
Okay, Wazoo Survival. We did 2 videos with that guy.
I don't remember, but
a super cool dude. We stood there and filmed a lot of footage with him, and he does a hat that has like 32 items in it, and he does a belt that is. We should actually build one of those, anyways. Like we do a trouser belt that has a zipper, and you can put gold coins and stuff in it, so it's weighted. You can smack the shit out of somebody.
Very SAS of you.
Yeah, and his has all kinds of stuff. Like, it was neat, right? Kind of gimmicky. And Sebastian, I don't know if he won it or they just liked him and gave it to him. Who knows how that happened? But when he got that shit home and was playing with it, all that stuff actually worked. Every fucking bit of that. They had like a 550 cord that had a fire starter inside it. All that shit worked really well. And Wazoo Survival, guys, he's on Instagram, pretty prolific, pretty active. Super good dudes. And the product, it actually worked for concealment type of stuff. But you can split the seams. Like if you look at, what's Ed's Instagram page? I don't know why I can't remember it. Just look up non-permissive environment stuff. But like Ed's manifesto, he talks about a lot of that shit: handcuff keys and getting out of zip ties and getting out of handcuffs, anti-kidnapping, anti-hijacking, how to get into places, stuff like that. It's worth. Another one is Sky Pirate Actual. Check him out on Instagram. Just some good channels, and that's the kind of stuff they're talking about. But that's all shit you could do. Like you could split the seam on your pants and just put all kinds of shit in just the seam of your pants on the top hem that will sit behind your belt. Nobody know that shit's there. I haven't been in a long time, but I've been frisked and disarmed several times by law enforcement, and they never pulled handcuff keys. Never once did they get. I guess they don't. I don't even know if they make them anymore. But all Levi's used to have that stupid change pocket.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They never checked in there. Yeah. Every single time I've been in handcuffs, I've had a handcuff key with me.
Because I think the reason why is because you don't have a handcuff problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually
they're definitely not expecting a garrote.
But what I'm saying is, usually when someone gets put in handcuffs and put back in the back of the car, usually it's over. Like that's
There's some
over.
good videos of crazy chicks running off with handcuffs.
Do you see them?
Who takes the handcuffs off of them?
Have you seen the video? Have you seen the video of the girl that they handcuffed and put in the back of the car? She gets out of her handcuffs and gets the AR and starts blasting away.
I have not seen that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. She just starts blasting away, and they're like, so who's shooting at us? And she's using their gun that she pulled out of the front of the car.
Which clearly wasn't in the lock.
Oh shit, that was pretty scary for those guys.
But you'd go to jail for that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Somebody got a hold of your gun.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure that the cop. I'm sure that cop is never going to live that one down. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of shit you can do.
All right, guys. Well, this went a little longer than we thought it was going to. We've got a bunch of other stuff we have to do today. Subgun micros, we're building them right now. By the time you see this, they've probably already happened and sold out. However, check the website if you're not aware. We just added some size in so that they will fit the, what is that thing, Scorpion mags?
Yes.
And MPX.
MPX.
Who makes that? SIG. Why did you make some weirdo shit that has giant mags but still shoots little bullets?
SIG makes everything.
So SIG is going to be the new FN? The new HK?
You know, we'll have to check. We'll have to check with our boys. But I'll bet.
They got them already?
No, I'll bet High Point is,
Well, they're definitely in the skunk works.
Yes, they're definitely in the skunk works for SIG, because for SIG to be...
I don't even have a High Point sign up right now.
For SIG to be as popular as they are, there's got to be some...
I think guys caught on.
High Point.
They're not as mad as they used to be.
Oh, why not? Don't be mad just because your brick guns are lazy.
All right, guys.
All right.